All right, let's take a look through the syllabus. We'll talk about the schedule, your ability to access me and the TAs, and also information about grading for those of you who do plan to take this course for a grade. So I am this guy, John Ostlund, and you can reach me either at my Andrew email ID or at my Gmail email ID. Notice that my Gmail address has an initial K between the J and the Ostlund, whereas the Andrew does not. I will be available to you pretty much all the time during reasonable hours, 7 days a week. I start looking at my email at around 10 in the morning or perhaps earlier than that, and try to look at my email all the way up until 9 p.m. Of course, this is Eastern Daylight Time during this summer course. And when I'm teaching, during the summer, I have about 250 students right now. When I'm teaching, I'm available. So I'm available on the weekends. I'm available on the weekdays. Please don't hesitate to send me an email on a Saturday or Sunday. That's totally fine. For this introductory Python course, Introduction to Programming with Python, I have 3 TAs who are assisting me. And their main job is going to be to grade homework assignments that you submit. They will also be happy and able to answer any questions that you have about Python or the course material or the homework assignments. And they may or may not choose to hold their own office hours by Zoom. It's up to them to decide whether they wish to do that. And I've asked them to announce in announcements on Canvas when and if they plan to hold office hours. Which actually reminds me, I am not going to be having physical office hours for this course because many students are spread all around the world during the summer. However, I will be announcing office hours that I will have on Zoom every weekend. So watch for that announcement. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the fundamentals of computer programming using the Python programming language. And we're going to try to get you up to what I guess I would call a sort of competent intermediate level of Python programmer. There's an enormous amount that you won't know, but hopefully you will know enough to be able to do actual work on actual things. For this course, you're going to need to install something called Anaconda, which is a large package of software that includes a quite recent version of Python. Python 3.8.8, I believe, is the version of Python. And you can install that on Windows, you can install that on a Mac, or if you're a Linux person, you can install that on a Linux system. I've created a video here, this YouTube video, that walks through the process for installing Anaconda on a Windows 10 machine. The process will be rather similar for a Mac or for Linux. I did not create separate videos for those systems. All right, so to obtain the software, what you do is go to anaconda.com/download. By default, you'll just be able to click a button to download the version for Windows 10. If you're using a Mac or Linux, look for the appropriate button to click to take you to the software and instructions for downloading in those environments. In terms of documentation and textbooks available for the course, the official documentation is at docs.python.org/3.8. There's also a pretty nice tutorial that you can have a look at, docs.python.org/3.8/tutorial. although you may want to wait until you've taken a week or two of this class to try diving into that tutorial. Some of that is, well, it's at a brisk pace. It's very detailed. It covers everything properly, but it is at a pretty brisk pace, so you might be good with a little introduction. There is a really excellent textbook, Starting Out with Python, by Tony Gaddis, that is appropriate for this level of course. However, the thing costs about $120, so I'm not going to make you buy it. You're welcome to buy it if you would like to have a good additional reference. There are also a couple of textbooks available for free. One called Python for Data Analysis, talking about pandas, NumPy, and IPython. That's probably a good book to look at after you're done with this course. It may be a little bit too advanced for an introductory course. However, and that's available through the Carnegie Mellon University Library. If you do a Google search for Carnegie Mellon University Library, and then within the library do a search for Python for Data Analysis, you'll locate the online copy of that book. There's another online book called Automate the Boring Stuff with Python that is available totally for free online, or you can buy a copy for not too much money on Amazon or elsewhere. Now, as far as grading, for those of you who are interested in getting some, I'm not sure whether saying credit for the course is quite appropriate, because you won't get college credit toward your degree. However, if you do pass this course successfully, that means that you won't have to take this course when you arrive during the fall semester. And for most of you, that will mean that you can get right into other courses that you would like to take. This course is a required course in many of Heinz College's master's degrees programs. And unfortunately, it's also something of a bottleneck course because we are not necessarily able to offer as many different sections of the course in the fall as everybody might wish to, crowd into. So if you would like to be given, let's say, acknowledgement for having passed this course so that you can move on to courses that follow this course, then by all means, you are strongly, strongly encouraged to take this course for a grade, and then you can move on to other courses for which this course is a prerequisite. All right, so 20% of the grade is based on your performance on homework assignments, and there will be a homework assignment announced each week. For each assignment, you are going to be randomly assigned to a team of 2 or 3 people, and these homework teams are going to change from week to week, so you'll have an opportunity to meet, perhaps not person to person, perhaps not physically, but at least remotely, hopefully by Zoom or whatever. You'll have a chance to meet several other people who are coming into the Heinz Masters programs. What I'd like to ask you to do is to do as much of the homework that you can yourself as possible, and then when the deadline for submission is approaching, compare what you did with what your other team members did. And for that matter, you're allowed to compare what you did with any other person that you wish. And finally, when you and your homework team members have agreed on some best version to submit, then one person in your team should create a zip archive of the homework solutions and submit that to Canvas. And then everybody in the team will get the same grade for that homework. Now, in order to get an A on a homework, what you need to do is to get 90 points out of a possible of 100. this is both a high bar and a low bar in some sense. I mean, to get 90 points out of 100, you really have to understand what's going on. But one of the reasons that I ask people to work as part of a team is to make sure that everybody really gets what's going on. And so almost every team manages to get 90 points or better out of 100 points. We expect that pretty much everybody in the course will get an A on every homework assignment. Occasionally that's not true, but usually that is true. I want to say one other thing about these homework teams. Carnegie Mellon does have a very strict academic integrity policy, and cheating in courses is a really bad idea, and the penalties for that are severe. Generally speaking, you're going to be told not to work with other people on assignments, labs, quizzes, exams, what have you, in courses. However, the professor of the course does have discretion, and so in, for example, courses where people are doing physical things in labs, you will very often be working with a lab partner. And in my courses, I always have people work on homework assignments with partners. And in fact, I allow people to talk to anybody that they want, because the purpose of the homework assignment is for you to learn as much as you can. And by working with other people, you will avoid getting stuck on trivial issues. It's very easy in programming to run into a problem and just get stuck and hung up on that for hour after hour after hour. Whereas if you can show that to a team member or somebody else, that other person will often be able to get you unstuck pretty quickly. And although there is benefit to struggling to learn material, there's not a benefit to struggling for several hours. So if somebody can help you get over a hurdle, if you've been stuck on something for an hour or whatever, that's all a good thing. So in my course, you are required to work with at least your teammates on homework assignments, and you may work or ask questions of anyone you wish, including the TAs and including myself. Now, in addition to the homework assignments, which are graded, we will also publish labs with answers for labs. These are ungraded, and basically just to give you some practice with the material. You don't have to hand anything in when you do these labs. Each week there will be a quiz, and in this, for the quiz, you must take the quiz all by yourself. You may not communicate with anyone else while you're taking the quiz. And the quizzes are going to be available online on Canvas so that you can take them at your convenience. To get an A on a quiz, you will have to get a score of 87.5% or better. You will get lower grades if you don't score at least 87.5%. The quizzes, although you must take these yourself, again, are intended as a learning and reinforcement tool. So I'm actually going to give you, for each quiz, up to 4 attempts to obtain an A on each quiz. Now, the final exam, which is the largest component of your overall grade, notice that the homework is 20%, the combined quizzes are 35%. The final exam is 45%, and the final exam is going to be basically like a very long quiz. It's going to take, or it's going to have allocated for it an hour and a half that is a full course lecture period, and it will be given during the last week of class. Now, if this were an in-person class, the final exam would be in person, but since this is a remote instance of this class, what I'm going to do is to give you a 24-hour interval of time during which you must take this final exam. And you can take the final exam during any hour-and-a-half period of time during that 24-hour interval that is convenient for you, depending on your location and time zone. Unlike the quizzes, you will only have one chance to take the final exam. So I hope between the lectures and the homework assignments and the quizzes and a lot of additional studying on your own that you will do very well on the final exam. Now, it is possible to get an A+ as a course grade. However, to get an A+ as a course grade in this class, that means, first of all, that you have to get an A+ on the final exam. I don't give any A+s for homework assignments or for weekly quizzes for the simple reason that on the homework assignments, I am allowing you to work with other people, so A is the highest grade that I'm willing to give. Likewise, for the in-class quizzes, I allow you to take those multiple times, so again, A is the highest grade that I'm willing to give. But if you really crush the final exam, you can get an A+ on the final exam. And so if you get an A+ on the final exam and an A on pretty much everything else, then you can get an A+ for the course. Okay, so here is the table of how letter grades on homework assignments, quizzes, and the final exam map into QPA points. And in order to figure out your overall course grade, QPA, you compute a weighted sum of the QPA points for your homework, quizzes, and final exam. So let's suppose that you get an A on your homework. Okay, so that's going to contribute 4.0, which is the QPA for an A, times 0.2, which is the weighting for homework. And let's also suppose that you manage to get A's for all of your quizzes. So that's another 4.0 times a 0.35 weighting. If you get an A- on your final exam, sorry, my highlighting is not working. All right, there it is. All right, so if you get an A- on your final exam, an A- is 3.67 QPA points, and that has a weighting of 0.45. So you compute that weighted average, and you get a 3.5185. Now, I actually round these course grades rather than truncating the course grades. So 3.8515 is closer to 4 than it is to 3.67. And so this ends up being rounded up to give you a course grade of A. All right, so I'm being I'm being kind of overly generous at every turn here, giving you probably A's for the homework if you work well, probably A's for the quizzes if you're diligent and take it enough times to get your A, and then rounding up for your course grade. Here are the overall learning objectives. We're going to take a look at the IDLE integrated development environment that's built into the Python environment. I will also recommend to you some other integrated development environments that are more sophisticated than IDLE. In particular, the Spider integrated development environment is more convenient to work in than IDLE. We're going to take a look at both top-down procedural programming, which is generally how people start learning program. We're going to say a bit about object-oriented programming as well. We're going to see how to do calculations, how to compute, how to evaluate relations and equality and logical comparisons, less than, greater than, and or. We're going to take a look at how to manipulate strings of characters representing, words and sentences and paragraphs and whatnot in documents, for example, and how to make decisions, and also how to define loops to cause something to occur on a repeated basis. We'll also take a look at how to create and interact with collections of data, and collections include, in Python, built into Python, we have lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries, or dicts. And we'll also get a little bit of a start into something called NumPy, which is an add-on module that you can import into Python to get more efficient and more sophisticated mathematical kinds of computations. Okay, so that's approximately what we're going to do. There's the grading scale. I'm not going to read through all of the stuff, but here is a little bit more detail about what we're going to be covering each week. Notice that if you're interested in taking the final exam for this course, the final exam is going to be on August 13th, which is the last day of courses for the summer, the second summer session, which is also often called Mini 6. So that's when the final exam will be. And here is the schedule of when various homework assignments are due and when you should plan on passing the quizzes, quiz 1 through 5 for this course. Oh, now I think I made a... No, I'm sorry. I did not. I thought I made a mistake, but I did not. In the regular semester, this course will be 6.5 weeks long rather than just 6 weeks long. And so in the regular semester, there might be a quiz 6, but there is not during this summer session. Okay. So I'm going to leave it to you to read through this information about submitting assignments, what to do, who to contact if you would like an accommodation for disability, academic integrity. Now, this business about cell phones, smartphones, and wireless devices is not really relevant since we're not having live lectures. And please take care of yourself. We do have an organization called CAPS that is very helpful if you are having some personal kind of struggle, and you can contact them either online or you can call them at this phone number shown here. Okay, so please do take care of yourself, certainly during all of this COVID-19 mess that many of us are still struggling through. All right, well, that's all I can think of to say about the syllabus. If you do have any questions about anything at any time, please do send me an email at the email address shown here in the syllabus. Take care, be well, and I look forward to seeing most, if not all of you, sometime this fall in Pittsburgh. I hope you will be able to make it to Pittsburgh sometime this fall.